Okay, today I want to do a little video, March 18th, 2018, about just how free we really are in America, or how free we think we are. For example, seatbelts. A lot of people don't think about it too much, but it's not really your safety that everybody's concerned about. It's more the insurance premiums that the insurance companies do not have to pay when you get hurt in an accident that are having a heavy influence on the freedom that you have to either wear a seatbelt or not. I see the wisdom in wearing a seatbelt. I do even wear one myself. It's just that I resent having to wear one, whether I like it or not. When my children were growing up, we always made sure their seat belts were buckled and they had the right kind of harnesses and equipment that was required by law, because they're not old enough to make the choice for themselves. But that's just one thing out of many. Just recently found out that if you have your hot water tank replaced in your house, even if you do it yourself, you have to get a permit. You have to get permission from the town that you live in to be able to replace the hot water tank in your own home. Now, to me, that's kind of going overboard a little bit. Somehow the people need to rally and try to resist too much government control. Not that I'm saying that there's no reason for the permit process. I have been a remodeling contractor in my younger days, and I still do some repair work, but I've done everything from small additions to siding and roofing, but mostly windows and door jobs. And replacement windows don't require permits, so we avoided that for many of our jobs. But when it came to siding and roofing, a permit was required, and I kind of saw that that would be something that should be required for a lot of different reasons. For example, in a windstorm, if the roof was not nailed on properly, the wind could carry those shingles, and those flying shingles could do a lot of damage. So shabby workmanship does not only affect your own home and that you might have a leak in your house, but it could inadvertently have negative and damaging and harmful effects on people that are not connected with you and your home at all. So I could understand getting a permit to do a roofing job, a siding job even. And when we first bought the home that we still live in today, a Colonial, I noticed that the people that had the home before us, they knocked out some of the closets, two small closets off the master bedroom on the second floor, and converted the bathroom into a huge bathroom and put a jacuzzi in the master bath off the master bedroom. And I never, I didn't let my kids go into the jacuzzi. It kind of bothered me. I wasn't sure that the support structure underneath the jacuzzi was strong enough to handle that weight, especially when it's full of water and you've got 2 or 3 kids in the jacuzzi jumping around. I mean, the whole thing could come crashing through the ceiling and everybody in the jacuzzi could be killed. So actually, I ripped out the ceiling in the foyer on the first floor, and we doubled up the joists. They call it sister joists. We put up and more braces, and I made it so strong that you could put a Mack truck up there and it would hold the weight. And then we re-sheetrocked and spackled and painted everything, and just basically made it structurally much more sound than it was before. I never called the town. I never contacted the inspectors. I'm sure there are inspectors that are very good and very knowledgeable and very smart, but I've had some dealings with some inspectors that don't know anything. I'm tempted to use a construction term, but they don't know their rear ends from a hole in the ground. And a lot of these people in a lot of towns, they get their jobs because of nepotism, and they have no idea about anything that involves architecture or weight loads, weight-bearing loads, spans, and what kind of wood or metal is required for different spans and different weight loads. They would resort to some formula booklet, and they can only do that in the city hall. They are totally incapable of doing anything out in the field. So when I did all this work on my own house, I never even bothered contacting the town, and just made it right, and I was happy with it. But I'm saying that for jobs like that, I understand that there should be a permit required, because, I mean, you could just have a guest over your house and they could get hurt because of your home being unsafe. But there comes a point where you have to draw the line, and when you are changing a hot water tank in your house, that's really none of the town's damn business what you're doing, whether you have a hot water tank, a new one, a big one, a little one, and how often you change it. Not to mention the fact that in our town they want $140 for the permit. Talk about a ripoff. So I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but basically maybe we should call it government permission. Government permission, because that's basically what a permit is. You're asking for permission to do something on your own home. So I wanted to make these observations about different things that are going on in our country and how they're gradually changing. George Orwell wrote a book called Animal Farm, and in the book, for those of you that are familiar with it and those that are not, look it up, read it. It's a easy read, and it's a very good book. And the animals are sort of like in lieu of people that were basically taken over by communism. And the communists in the book were the pigs. The pigs took over the farm, and they killed the farmer and his wife, and they took over the farmhouse. And all the rest of the animals, the horses and the goats or whatever, the chickens, they're out in the barnyard, and on the side of the barn, the pigs wrote the laws, the rules, the new rules for the farm. And every time they looked at those rules on the wall of the barn, they seemed to change just a little bit. It was just so slow that it was almost they couldn't comprehend that there were changes being made, because they were just so subtle and so gradual. But it's like that thing with you can't cook somebody by throwing them into a pot of hot water, but you put them into warm water and you increase the temperature 1 degree at a time, and you end up cooking them. And we have to be very vigilant and observant about how the government keeps encroaching upon our freedoms. And it is very important for us. I'm going to touch on guns, because that's the ultimate freedom, and the one that there seems to be a lot of controversy over recently. And I've got 3 kids that are about the age of these college students that are demonstrating in the news lately, and they're gathering. I mean, it was really ticked me off, because I just found out that one of the students that did not attend the rally against guns, he was suspended because he wouldn't attend the rally. Now, we're talking about public education here, and this kind of I don't know what the right word for it would be. This kind of it's basically I'm thinking about the word I'm thinking coercion, but that's not the word I'm looking for. I don't even think that is a word. But this type of grinding on people and pressuring them to do things that are really not in their own best interest. And these are high school kids. And then you get the college crowd, and these college kids, they're being taught by these liberal professors that really, I mean, I do have respect for educators, and I've had some teachers in my life that I'll never forget them. But in a lot of cases, you have teachers that are totally unfamiliar with the real world, and they're living in some kind of a fantasy themselves. And they're basically transforming or transferring their own ignorance onto their students. And you have these rallies of these students that are demonstrating in large numbers against people's right to own guns, and they are totally ignorant of the millions, hundreds of millions of people that have died throughout history because of tyrannies, tyrannical governments like Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin, not to mention, the old staple Hitler and the Nazis, which, from what I understand, gun control was like the main first thing that they all did, because they have to disarm the people before they can have total control. So it's true that we should try to do things, common sense things, to try to limit these type of crimes and atrocities that we've been witnessing in the news recently, like the killings in Florida. But these things are the cause of the society, not just because guns are allowed, but because there are drugs being used by these kids, legal drugs and illegal drugs. They're subjected to all kinds of violence in videos and in Hollywood movie programming. Somehow, these people, create all of this hostility on the screen and wind everybody up, and yet they bear no responsibility whatsoever when somebody goes off the handle and goes crazy. And as you know, the system fails in a lot of ways that enables these atrocities to take place. And the system has got to get its act together and stop worrying about whether the people have guns or not. They should start worrying about doing their job properly, which is what they get paid for. And if they're not doing their job, we should be able to get these people out of office in a much quicker way, so that the people that are in government more or less are held to the same kind of accountability that an employee is in a corporation. Because if you're not doing your job in a corporation, you're out of there. And this whole idea of tenureship and seniority and what have you, that allows these people to hang in there no matter what kind of job they're doing, this is part of the problem. Well, anyway, if I ever think of that word, I'll get back to you on it. Till next time. I didn't know why I couldn't think of it. As soon as the video camera, I turned it off, I remembered the word I'm looking for is coercion, not coversion, but coercion. They're being coerced into, these students are being coerced by their administrative leaders and teachers and professors to be stupid. And to tell you the truth, all my life I'm kind of always was fed up with these professors, the professors with the beard. They got the professor look. They went through school and they jumped through all the proper hoops, and then they got the PhD stamped on their forehead, and all of a sudden you're supposed to bow down to them like as if they're some kind of gods. And I'll tell you, a lot of these professors are just dangerous lunatics. And that's my message to the young people of America.